The soft hum of jazz floated through the first-class lounge at JFK International Airport. Marble floors gleamed under soft lighting, and sharply dressed travelers sipped cocktails beneath gold-framed art. Every corner whispered luxury, except the far-left seat, where a calm black woman sat alone with a worn leather carry-on tucked by her feet. Janelle didn't move much. She checked her phone once, her boarding pass glowing on the screen. First class. Her posture was straight, her face peaceful. No flashy jewelry, no designer heels, just confidence. And yet, she felt it. The stares. A white security officer near the front desk leaned slightly into her radio, eyes fixed on Janelle. Passengers whispered near the espresso counter. A flight attendant glanced, whispered, then looked away quickly. Janelle looked up once, not in fear, just quiet awareness. The officer shifted. Two more walked in. One spoke into his collar mic. She heard it, just faintly. Priority check. Passenger, seat 1A. Janelle closed her phone. Footsteps approached, slow and calculated. Two officers stopped in front of her. The taller one didn't even fake a smile. "Ma'am," he said flatly, "can we speak with you privately?" Janelle blinked once. "Is there a problem?" A pause. Then the shorter officer said it, cold, clipped, loud enough for nearby travelers to hear. "You're not supposed to be here." The hallway buzzed behind her, but Janelle stood still, her breath steady, her eyes calm. She wasn't confused. She knew exactly what this was. Still, she followed them without a word, passing silent stares and whispered guesses. 5 minutes later, she sat alone near a frosted glass partition just beyond the lounge checkpoint. The officers had stepped aside to make a call. She could still hear faint chatter from inside. Laughs, clinks of glasses, and the soft murmur of travelers who looked like they belonged. But she never flinched. Janelle Williams wasn't just any passenger. She was a corporate strategist with a reputation built over 2 decades, known in boardrooms from Atlanta to London. She'd flown over 100 times this year, always first class, always quiet, always unnoticed. Today was different, not because she did something wrong, but because she didn't fit the picture they wanted. No platinum heels, no Gucci scarf, no flashy attitude, just a clean blazer, black flats, a crisp boarding pass, and skin that told them everything they thought they needed to know. She had seen it before. In banks, at conferences, in elevators where she'd stand silently next to junior execs who assumed she was someone's assistant. It didn't hurt anymore, but it always echoed the same message. "You don't look like power." Janelle sat straight, hands folded in her lap. Her phone buzzed once with a reminder. Meeting with Grand Sky Board, Seattle, 6 p.m. She didn't blink, didn't smirk, because they didn't know who they were stopping. Not yet. The lounge had gone quiet. As Janelle walked back in, the atmosphere had shifted. The security officers flanked her, not touching, but close enough to send a message. Every step echoed off the polished floor. Some travelers looked away. Others stared, pretending not to. The receptionist glanced up and then quickly down again. Rachel Barnes stood at the edge of the priority boarding gate, arms crossed, her face set like stone. She'd been watching everything through the glass panel from her station. She didn't smile, didn't greet. She just waited. Janelle approached with quiet dignity, holding her phone with the first-class ticket still on display. Rachel didn't ask for it. She just said, flat and sharp, "You're in the wrong line. Economy is over there." It cut through the lounge like a slap. Janelle didn't raise her voice, She simply looked her in the eye. "I know exactly where I belong." Rachel's jaw tightened. Her hand twitched toward the radio again. Behind her, one of the flight crew shifted nervously. A few travelers had frozen mid-sip. A white man in a Navy business suit nudged his wife, whispering something behind his hand. Janelle took a small step forward. "I've shown my ticket. I've passed security. If there's a real issue, you'll need to make it formal." Rachel didn't blink. Instead, she gave a tight nod to the taller officer beside her. "Escort her to the back room. We need to verify everything. No explanation. No apology." As they walked her away again, the man in the Navy suit muttered, just loud enough for others to hear, "They let anyone fly first these days, huh?" Janelle didn't turn, didn't answer. The suitcase wheels rolled behind her on the marble like a quiet drumbeat, and every step she took was being watched. The room was small, cold. Nothing but a steel table, 2 chairs, and a blinking camera in the corner. Janelle sat with her hands resting calmly on the table. No cuffs, no raised voices, just quiet suspicion hanging heavy in the air. Across from her sat a white male officer, early 40s, with a shaved head and sharp eyes. His partner, a younger woman, stood off to the side with her arms crossed. He opened a notepad and didn't bother to smile. "Name?" "Janelle Williams," she said, steady as ever. "Purpose of travel?" "Business." He leaned forward slightly, eyes narrowing. "Kinda strange, flying first class dressed like that." Janelle didn't blink. "My seat says 1A. What does yours say?" The woman officer shifted slightly, eyeing the plain envelope sticking out of Janelle's bag. "What's that?" she asked. "Work files," Janelle answered. "We'll need to inspect them." Janelle raised one brow. "To open that envelope, you'll need a court order. It contains federal oversight documents." The man paused. "What kind of work do you do, exactly?" She reached slowly into her bag and slid the sealed envelope onto the table. Then she said it. "I'm a senior ethics auditor with Lexington Equity. I conduct Level 3 internal compliance reviews for federal contract partners." Silence. She let it hang there. "Today's flight," she added, "was an anonymous integrity check. Your airline just failed it." Neither officer spoke. The man leaned back slowly, eyes suddenly unsure. Janelle stood up calmly, took the envelope, and placed it back in her bag. "If you need more verification," she said, "call your CEO." And with that, she turned to the door and waited. Because now, she wasn't the one under review. They were. The next morning, a private boardroom inside Grand Sky Airlines headquarters buzzed with tension. The room was sleek, glass walls, leather chairs, and a massive digital screen at the front. But no one was relaxed. The CEO sat stiffly at the head of the table, flanked by legal advisors and 2 executives from compliance. Then Janelle walked in. No blazer this time. Just a black turtleneck and a sealed red envelope in her hand. Everyone rose, unsure whether out of respect or fear. "I won't take much of your time," she said, placing the envelope on the table. She opened it slowly and removed a thick audit report with color-coded tabs. Then, without a word, she tapped her phone. The screen lit up behind her. Surveillance footage began to play. Rachel Barnes, the lounge. Sarah Barnes, on the flight. Their voices, their sneers, their words, all captured. Janelle didn't speak over the video. She let it play. Let them hear themselves. When it ended, the silence in the room was crushing. The FAA official, seated in the corner, cleared his throat first. This is serious grounds for ethical violation. Janelle nodded, then turned to the airline's top lawyer. As of this moment, Lexington Equity is freezing the $5 billion line of credit that was under review. The audit is marked failed. Funding will not proceed. The lawyer paled. The CEO's mouth opened, but no words came out. "You didn't just insult a passenger," she said calmly. "You insulted your own future." The CEO finally whispered, "Is there anything we can do?" Janelle looked at him for a long moment. "You had your chance," she said, "when I was just another woman with a seat in 1A." She closed the report and stood up. Outside the boardroom, headlines were already breaking. Airline faces $5 billion fallout over racism scandal. And the storm had only just begun. Newsrooms lit up across America and Canada. The story went viral overnight. The airline's stock plummeted. Social media exploded with hashtags like #BlackTravelerJustice and #Respect in the Skies, trending in New York, Toronto, and London. Rachel Barnes received her suspension notice early that morning. The letter was cold and final. No appeals, no explanations. A decade of authority vanished with a single signature. Sarah Barnes was reassigned to low-profile domestic routes. Gone were the perks, the first-class status, and the polished uniform she'd worn with pride. Now, every flight felt like a punishment. Inside Grand Sky Airlines, panic set in. Emails flooded inboxes. Employees whispered in hallways, fearing the fallout would reach every department. The board convened an emergency meeting to plan damage control, but the crisis was bigger than they could handle. Meanwhile, Janelle stayed silent. She didn't post on social media or give interviews. Her power was quiet, like the calm before the storm. Yet everywhere she went, respect followed. Airline employees, once indifferent or hostile, now nodded in acknowledgement. Passengers who overheard the story expressed newfound understanding. This was more than a scandal. It was a turning point. The airline's leadership faced an ultimatum: overhaul their culture or lose billions more. For Janelle, justice wasn't just about punishment. It was about transformation, a reckoning for a system that had long ignored the voices of dignity. And as the sun rose on a new day, the message was clear. Prejudice has a price. And this time, it was paid in full. 1 week later, Janelle returned to JFK Airport. The first-class lounge was as busy as ever, but something was different. Whispers followed her, not with suspicion, but with respect. She walked with calm assurance, her footsteps steady on the polished floors. The gleam of luxury surrounded her, but she carried a quiet power that made even the grandest decor fade away. Near the help desk, Rachel Barnes sat. Gone was her stern uniform and name badge. She wore a simple blue shirt, her shoulders slumped, eyes heavy with regret. Janelle paused, watching quietly from across the room. Rachel looked up, her eyes meeting Janelle's. For a moment, time seemed to freeze. "I'm sorry," Rachel whispered, voice cracking. Janelle didn't answer immediately. She studied Rachel's face, the exhaustion, the shame. Then, with a gentle nod, she spoke softly, her voice carrying the weight of every unjust moment she had endured. "I wasn't here to sit. I was here to be seen." Those words hung in the air like a solemn promise. Rachel's eyes welled with tears. Janelle turned and walked away, leaving the crowd silent, moved. Her message was clear. True dignity isn't about status or privilege. It's about respect. And for every silent witness that day, a lesson was learned. Because sometimes the greatest power comes not from shouting, but from walking tall when the world tries to push you down.